Here we are, back at it again. Another night, another reaction. And today, this one is crazy. So we got Chris Williamson, and he's actually doing an interview with I think a former army guy, right? And in this interview, the man said some profound things, some very profound things. But he's talking about parenting, and especially he's talking about him as a father. Now, being a parent, there's no rule book for this. There are certain ways that you can go about things to raise up a healthy and successful child, but there's no rule book to parenting. It's very difficult from what I've heard, and it's extremely, extremely worth the grind, because it is a grind. But without further ado, I'm gonna jump straight into the interview. I'm gonna jump straight into the video. We're gonna react to some things this man say, and we're gonna do it like that. So let's go.
He's yeah, he's a machine right now. It's it's weird because I get credit for my kids, and they're like, "Oh, you must have done such a good job." I didn't. I mean, I pushed those boys way too hard. I mean, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was young. I was in my 20s. So, I didn't know how to be a dad. My dad was never around. I hated my stepdad, so I knew I definitely didn't want to be like him. But I didn't know what a dad was supposed to be. And I'm like, well, okay, I'm just going to prepare these kids. I know how life is. I know life will fucking kick you in the nuts. So they're going to be ready for anything. Life.
This so mm, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I want a farm someday. I want cattle. I want horses. I want me some farm animals. I want that for myself. And I was listening to a guy who was a horse trainer, and he was saying if if when you're training these horses in their younger years, and immediately you start having people ride them, you're racing them, you're training them, you're pushing them. Eventually, what happens is they experience burnout a lot quicker than other horses, right? At 5 or 7 years, at 2, 3 years, you pushing this horse like crazy, they're going to experience burnout much faster. I think us as humans, right, as people, human beings, for a man, like y'all might think this is toxic or whatever, but looking back on my life, my pops was hard. He was hard, okay? But I can look back now and see some of the shortcomings that I've had in my life and see some of the things that I could have done different. And I can honestly say, like, he didn't push me hard enough. Like he should have been harder. So I can't say that his everybody's situation is different, right? All kids are different, all people are different. But me understanding some certain things about human nature and understanding a lot about men, I don't think I don't think you can push us too hard. You can push somebody for sure too far in the wrong direction, but when you're going for good and you're striving for great things in life, I don't think it's a such thing as pushing too hard. It's all about that specific person's goals and aspirations and ambitions. But I'm sorry to say, I don't know him. I don't know his son. I don't know the situation. But I don't think you can push young men too hard. I'm sorry. Like a strong man is hard to break him. And the more he goes through in life early on, I think it prepares you for those tough times in life. I'm sorry, but I don't think you can push men too hard.
Competition, they're going to be ready to compete. So I pushed them really hard, and it was not great all the time
How
because
so? What did you do?
um it was just always a battle. It's just like it's we're running every day. You guys got home from school. Okay, get your stuff on. We're gonna go do Pisca. No kid wants to go run a mountain. And I'm like, no, this is because the way I thought it was I had a terrible childhood, but it made me tough. So I'm like, you guys have everything. You have everything I ever wanted. Your dad's around. Your mom is here. She loves you. You have every shoe you want, every basketball camp you want to go to, you go to. I said, so the way this is going, you're gonna grow up to be a couple big pussies. We're gonna make you tough. So I would just make them do hard things, and I made it. They both did half marathons when they were 7 and 8 years.
a thing about that, right? This what he just said is extremely hard about pushing his kids to a level that he thought would meet society's expectations or supersede them. That's not what he said specifically, verbatim, but that's what I got from it. Now, my pops was very much the same. His father was in the military. He was an army infantryman, and my father was in law enforcement. Right, so my dad would be much the same. So when he says the thought of, hey, these kids have it so good that they're going to grow up and be soft, like, let me choose my words wisely. You're not wrong. All right, you're not wrong. And no matter what they choose to endeavor in, whether it be blue collar, white collar, they need those hard lessons young to be able to sustain and overcome the tribulations and trials that they're going to encounter in life. You need that. For young women, it may be different. I don't know. I'm not a woman, right? But I can say for me as a young man growing up, those are the things that I think built the foundation for me to overcome all the trials I had. My father pushing me in that direction. Was it hard some days? Yes. Did I hate him for a while? Yes. But at the same time, when you become older, you start to look back on life and you start to be thankful for those things, especially coming from your dad. Because who else is going to show you? I can honestly say this. I've had coaches, I've had teachers, I've had a lot of things in my life that there were men that weren't my father, and none of them cared as much as my dad did. Not a single one to this day did not care as much as my dad did.
Of a picture. He looks like he's this tall. He was tiny at 8 years old, but he ran a 154 half, like this tall, which is 8 something minute miles. And that all that to say that, yeah, I had the kids do really hard things for many years to prepare them for what I said was life's challenges. And it made it, if I was, it reminded me, did you ever see the movie Tree of Life?
No.
So Brad Pitt's in it, and great movie, but he was super hard dad there. When he would leave, it was like fucking playtime, right? Mom, kids, jumping on the beds, and then when dad would come home and be like, "Oh God." So I said, "This reminds me of me when we go out of town. It's just playtime. Come back, it's like, oh shit." So that's not great when you're the bad guy all the time. Dads are usually the disciplinarian. That's whatever. But I was also like, making them do these really hard things. So they see now and they see all the success, but it wasn't great. And anybody from the outside in would look and say, that what's wrong with that? That dad is pushing those kids too hard. It's like any basketball game. I'm just like, a loose ball, you better be on that floor. And I said, I want to see floor burns on your knees. I want you diving on. I want you playing the harder than any kid out there. So that's a hard thing to live up to. Kids just want to have fun. They want to play.
Mm.
They're not looking to compete every day,
Mm.
but I made them compete. So it was a challenge.
Hey, shout out to him for that. And hey, just shout out to my pops because you know, things are coming back now as he's talking about them, and he's right, right? He's 100% correct. When you have kids in anything competitive, they just want to have fun. But the thing that separated, I think, my dad and me from a lot of other kids is my father was the same way. He did not like losing. He did not accept that loser BS. He didn't accept that. He didn't accept you going to a game and you not getting in, you not playing, you not winning, and you come home crying. Because he would stay straight to me like, well, what you did in practice? Did you study? Did you practice hard? Did you go harder than anybody out there like I told you to? Did you do what you were supposed to do to get the expected outcome that you desired? And if you didn't, I don't want to hear no crying. Right? Because this is one thing that him and my grandmother told me all the time. Everybody loves a winner. Everybody. Life ain't fun when you're not winning. Period. I don't care what nobody say. But this is the thing. There are some hard lessons you have to teach young men as a child. There are some hard lessons you have to teach them. One of them is going to be their first heartbreak. right? Another one is going to be when they come up short in things that they are very passionate about. That's going to happen, and that's going to be another type of heartbreak. So, how do you help them overcome that? By having fun. I'm gonna tell you one thing I've learned in life: it's always fun when you win. Always. Losing is never fun. If it's a passion project, yeah, so what? I'm not the best at it. I'm just doing this for fun. But when this is something that I want to be good at and I want to win it, that's fun. Let's get back to it.
Now you see what that results in, and Tanner, he was a ranger. He's freaking badass. It's probably tougher than Truett, and then Truett's doing these crazy things and getting all this attention, and yeah, I mean it's great. I'm glad to see it, but I wasn't perfect raising.
Do you regret it?
Yeah, um I regret. I remember when Tanner went to the army. He's a deputy back home. Very proud of him. Such an important job. He, a corrections officer, just worked at the jail, but still, it's a good job. It's like paid the bills. I was proud of him. We need men to do that. So, um, he said he was going to join the army and he wanted to be a ranger. And I'm just like, you know, you get deployed, and I'm thinking, what if he? I think it was because I would tell them that average is failing. If you look around, you see the average person. That's not us. That's not what we want to be. So we're not. Yes, I know people need to work at gas stations and do things, whatever. That's fine. But that's not what we're settled for. So he said he wanted to quit. He didn't want to be a deputy anymore. He wanted to be a ranger because he had more to offer this world. And I was thinking, was that me who fucked up and said this, at being just having a regular job was somehow failing? And I just had so many regrets. And I was just like, I told him he's getting ready to go to basic training. And I said, Tanner, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with having a regular job, being a family man. And I said, there's nothing, I was wrong. I was wrong to say what I said, raising you kids. And, because I was thinking about, what if he got deployed and was killed? And it's just like, because of shit I said, trying to make my boys tough, and this is a result. So yeah, I was like, yeah,
Check this out, OG. This is what I feel like. Like as a parent, there's always things that you can do different. Always things you can do different. But I would say you shouldn't have any regret about being that hard on your boys, man. You shouldn't have any regret because this is what I think about. I'm in the military. I'm in the army as well too. I never wanted the Ranger tab. I wanted the SF tab. Right. I wanted to be in Special Forces. That was the main reason I joined the military. Right now, I'm doing a train up to get something separate, but to get a tab. And as I learned more about what Rangers do and what it means to accomplish something like getting earning that Ranger tab, I started looking more into it. Your son has accomplished something that very few people on planet Earth has accomplished. You as a father having a son with those accolades, I understand that you definitely are proud, but it shouldn't be any regret in that, right? And yes, he had a good job. He was doing all right, but he said something that matters more than anything you could have ever taught him. He said, "I think I have more to offer the world." As a man, that is what we live for: your family and what you can do for others. A lot of men might not say that, but if you can't be used, you are useless as a man. So, it, to me, you should never have any regret about that. I'm not here to change your mind again. I don't know OG, but my thing is, why regret something like that? And even though you pushed him to not be average, guess what? He grew up, and I can assure you, from doing the train ups and doing the training, that man is not average under no circumstances, right? So just him having the mentality to want to strive for something like that says a lot about you as a parent, as a father. It says a lot because, like I said earlier, I wish my father had been that hard on me because I would have did all this stuff younger. All right, I'm in my 30s trying to accomplish stuff I should have had already done in my 20s. I'm just now getting it because I had veered so far off from what my parents had said. I had to go back and start taking those little lessons that I learned in my youth and then start back applying it now, right? And a lot of that came from my dad. You know, always be a winner. Everybody loves a winner. You know, things like that. Be the best. Who's the smartest person in the classroom? Okay, you need to be friends with them. You need to sit up there in the front with them. If it's something you don't understand, you need to go to this person or go to the teacher or something like that and ask questions, things like that. So that you know, like not being funny, a lot of days average people are falling behind. Mediocrity is not rewarded anymore in America. So it's extremely difficult for average people to get ahead unless you're doing above average things, unless you're doing extraordinary things every day. It's extremely hard for you to get ahead. It's just what it is, man. So I think you prepare your son for a world that is ever changing and that is increasingly more difficult on the daily as far as how fast information changes and as far as how much talent is out there and how easy it is to discover talent. Just the click of a button on the internet. So I think you did a fantastic and amazing job preparing your son for this world that we're living in now. An amazing job. Back in the 90s and early 2000s, yeah, mediocrity, you could have went far doing that. But I argue now it's so much talent out here and there's so much exposure to that talent that you kind of get left behind if you're not doing extraordinary things. So it shouldn't be no regret in that, man. You did a great job, man. It's like straight up, real talk. Like salute to you, man. You did an amazing job. Let's get back to the video.
I definitely have had regrets over how hard I pushed them.
I think it's such a delicate balance to give your kids the life that you never had and the life that you worked so hard to be able to afford them with, whilst also knowing where most of the important realizations that made you into the sort of person who could provide came about due to restriction and
Mhm.
difficulty and tough times and toil,
Mhm.
and a little bit of maybe a bit of resentment and a little bit of unfairness
Yeah.
in childhood that galvanized you to sort of do something great with your life. Every single, I mean, look, dude, every single parent that I know, and even more, tell you what, be fucking grateful that you had your kids in your 20s, because if you'd had them now,
Mhm.
imagine how much of a differential your lifestyle is, materially, in terms
Mhm.
of resources, in terms of status and notoriety and opportunity and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
You would be like floating out in space.
Mhm.
You know, you would have no idea. The total frame of reference would be out of the
Right.
window. Um, there's not a single dad that I know who has sort of crawled out from the place that they were as a kid and made something of themselves who doesn't have that exact concern
Hmm.
about their children. I think it is one of the most common worries. Ben Francis, he's the guy that founded Gymshark. Gymshark's completely bootstrapped. He still owns 70% of it. Gymshark's worth over, it's nearly $3 billion,
Mm.
£3 billion company. This guy's like worth like £2 billion, like $3 billion, and he's
Mm.
31. He's got
Wow.
twin boys,
Mm.
but he grew up like as rough as they come in Birmingham with a granddad that made him go and work in like a clay mine or so, like a pottery barn, something like
Mhm.
that. And I've asked him this question. I'm like, how do you intend on navigating this one? How do you intend on teaching your kids the lessons that you learned from a very working class grandfather, their great grandfather, whilst also not throwing away the entire reason for working as hard as you did, which was to be able to afford your fucking family
Yeah.
the life that you never had?
Right.
So, you know, first off, I think you did the best that you could. So you need to give yourself some grace with that. And look, if 50% was like the middle of the bell curve of how much toughness versus easiness you could give kids,
Mhm.
I would guess that most kids and most parents are too far on the easy side. I
Mhm.
think snowplow parenting, helicopter parenting, gentle parenting, whilst noble in its intentions, is usually kind of over pattern matched and results in soft entitled adults.
Right.
The interviewer hit it straight on the head because this is me. Um, as a parent and also as a leader over other men, I'm seeing a trend. I'm seeing a huge trend. It's a lot of people who have trauma from how we grew up, right? It's a lot of people who grew up with, abuse in the home and other mistakes that parents made, neglect and all of these different things. And the thing that you think about when you're a parent is, oh, I don't want my kid to grow up like that. I want my kid to have all the things I didn't have. And the thing that you fail to realize is, how did you get to where you are? Not saying that be an absent parent, but I'm saying all the hard lessons that made you who you are and made you successful need to be passed down to the kids. It has to be. Like he said, the helicopter parenting, the gentle parenting. Yes, it is noble. It is a good idea. The nurturing, the love, the caring, all that good stuff. That's sweet, that's beautiful, whatever. But I'm about to drop a bomb on most people that y'all not understanding. And this is what I think he meant about being average. The average person is not encountering the hardships that maybe somebody like the Gym Shark owner is encountering. They're not. And while you might be like, well, yeah, they are. They're broke and they can't feed their families. And yes, it's very extremely difficult, right? I have a family. It's extremely difficult to provide for three other people. But you want to know what's more difficult? When you're having to provide for 300 people or 3,000 people. That's extremely difficult when the freaking decision and all the results and all the blame and all of that falls on your back. And for these families to eat, they're relying on you to do a job and to be successful. In my profession, the people that I see, the tip of the spear, when you talk to these people, they had bad backgrounds, man. Bad backgrounds. The pain, the trauma, the experiences that they had to go through, the things that they had to overcome as a child led them to be great, great men. And not saying that happens all the time, because we can see people who have these traumatic experiences grow up in the world and become terrible people because of those experiences. But at the same time, you need those people, or you need that in your youth, that hardship. You need a certain amount of that to be a healthy adult, because what life is going to do is life is going to punch you dead square in the nose and knock your freaking vision out. And how you go through life without your vision when you can't breathe oxygen? You have to find a way to get back up and keep fighting. Growing up, how a lot of us, like especially like 80s babies and 90s babies grew up, yes. Or if your father was a soldier in wartime, a lot of those people who grew up with that type of upbringing, those are the people who built what we have today. Not saying that people who grew up opposite didn't build anything great, but a lot of times when you talk to someone who's built something great, they had a trouble past, extremely trouble, because all of those things make you into what you need to be. You have to be a hard shell on the outside. You can be a jelly bean, nothing wrong with that. You can be soft and mushy on the inside, but you have to have that hard shell. So when life and the freaking terrain and the trials, and you have to weather the storm, you have something to weather it with. You've been caught up your whole life, you ain't gonna have it. You just not. If everything's been given to you your whole life, you're not gonna be able to weather those storms. You just not, man. So I agree with the interview. Like, give yourself some grace, but you prepared your kids for how cruel and how terrible this world is, right? Like I'm ranting right now. Let me rant. When life comes and kick your kids in the freaking teeth and knock all their teeth out, they're gonna have to find a way to eat. That's just what it is, man. And if every time a hiccup happened in life, every time they made a mistake, every time something got hard for them, you stepped in and you alleviated that problem for them instead of making them work through it. Guess what they're gonna expect when they get older? Oh, somebody's supposed to come and help me. Oh, things are getting hard. Why nobody's helping me? Oh, I need to accomplish this. Why is nobody there? They're gonna break down from that if they realize when I'm a child, like, hey, a lot of times I had somebody there and they chose not to help me. I had to figure it out myself. When they become an adult, not being funny, that subconscious programming is gonna kick back in. I could call my parents and ask them for help, but I'd rather struggle through this and figure it out on my own. That's gonna make them stronger. That's gonna build them up into the person they need to be. Just how it is, man. I don't care what nobody say. Like that soft, that coddling life, man. It don't raise strong adults. It just don't. It ain't the oldest. I get it. Like our parents and our grandparents and great grandparents, They didn't have the emotional intelligence that we have. They didn't have all the information, but I would argue they built much stronger adults, much more resilient adults. Maybe not the best emotionally. It's a lot of toxic people out there, but at the same time, it's a lot of toxic people who good at their job too, for real. But I'm done with that rant. I'm gonna get back in the video. I'm probably just gonna finish half of it, and then we're gonna take it on in from there. Let's go.
Narcissistic, soft entitled adults when they grow up. Um, given the choice between the two, sort of being pushed a little bit further on the other side,
Mm-hmm.
is a very strange kind of gift. I I think what would be interesting would be to know how much of that is actually because of the way that you raised them and how much of that is just your genes. Um, the more that I learn about behavioral genetics, heritability of different traits,
Mm-hmm.
so on and so forth, like this should be comforting. As far as I can see, there is no such thing as really getting parenting right. There is only getting it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And getting it wrong, kids are pretty fucking resilient. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're really, really tough. And you see perfectly balanced adults that grew up in horrendous childhood environments.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as long as there's no really extreme, well, maybe you would say some of the climbs with the rock were slightly extreme. Um, my point is, I get the sense that if they're made out of the same stuff that you're made out of, they didn't really have a choice whether you made them go up the mountain or not. I think that there is a lot more built into you. You know, you're talking about consistently running for 4 decades
Mm-hmm.
and thinking about framing that up against what that meant in your childhood, and this sort of relentlessness that you approach, like even the pod when you
Mm-hmm.
started that. I think it was episode 3, 2, 3, 4, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's now like what, 160,
Mm-hmm.
some shit. uh like even with that, that's not that's a level of work rate that most people don't hold up. It's just a minor little
Yeah.
area, then in the hunting, and then in the lifting, and then in the bow stuff, and then in the running, and then in the so maybe there is, maybe it's contributed. But what I would, if I could sort of bet a couple of chips on the roulette wheel of a couple of other universes in which you'd approached your kids differently,
Mm-hmm.
I think they'd be probably 90%, 80 or 90% of the way there, just with less experience about how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And one of the best things you can do for your kids, I think, as a fucking, look at me spouting nonsense as a non-father. The internet loves when I do this. One of the best things that you can do is set a good example.
Mm-hmm.
You can read all of the books about healthy attachment and child education and socialization and all the rest of it, but they will learn more from the way that you and your wife show up for each other around the dinner table than every lesson that you try and force into them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can top down try and tell them how they're supposed to behave. This is how you're supposed to treat girls. You don't hit girls, and you don't do this, and you must hold the door, and you got to be this way, and be blah 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 blah. It's like, all right, but then when you're around the dinner table, you're a prick. You
Mm-hmm.
look at your phone instead of looking at your wife,
Yeah.
or you ignore her, or you don't laugh at her jokes, or you
Mm-hmm.
guys don't relate well, or they never see you be physically affectionate to each other, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. It's not for me to say that you need to like force a relationship, but
Yeah.
the point is, I think that kids learn by seeing a lot more than they get learned by being told. And
Yeah.
that's what you're doing. Even if you hadn't made them go up the mountain and you were like, I'm off to go up the mountain, they'd be like, well, Dad's going up the mountain. Like, can I
Mm-hmm.
come up the mountain? So
Yeah. It's and
I'm gonna finish up with that. All right, that part of the interview is like, I want to say like 20, 30 minutes long. If y'all want to see the rest of it, y'all can go to his page and check it out. But it's three things that he said that I want to harp on. Like, there's no rule book, right? I said that in the beginning. There's no rule book to parenting. There's really only not even good parenting, but there is for sure bad parenting, right? 1,000,000%. And we can see how that plays out in a child's life as they grow up. The second thing that he said that I want to kind of shed some light on is that kids are extremely resilient. I think that's the part about the psychology, about the medical intervention, about the theories that everybody's trying to incorporate all these ideas into parenting now. I think that's what we're missing. because most people are just harping on the bad side of child development and how to raise kids, right? Everybody's just harping on the bad part. Oh, don't do this because you're gonna traumatize your kid. Oh, don't do this because then your kid will think you're a bad parent. Oh, don't do this because then your kid will grow up and have this mental instability. Like, man, forget all of that. Forget it. What we're forgetting is the good thing about human beings and kids, especially. The best thing about kids is they don't know. They don't know what's normal. They don't know what anything is like until you take them through those experiences, right? So if you take a kid hunting, fishing, exercising every single day, they honestly, if unless they're around people who do the exact opposite, they don't know that that's not normal. They don't know that that's a life that only certain type of people live. They don't know that, hey, I'm a cowboy, but my friend is always, playing Call of Duty. They don't know that exists until they get around it. So if you bring them up in the right way, that creates their resilience in that child. And I think in psychology, in the pharmaceutical industry, in the medical industry, those are the things we should be focusing on. The things that already work, not the things that tear kids down, or not to be freaking scared of doing this with your kid because they're going to turn out this way. And the third thing I wanna expound upon that he said was, kids do not learn from what you tell them. It's a lot of different words going through their brain. They don't remember majority of it. It's a lot of things that goes in one ear and out the other. One thing kids do remember is what they see. And he used a great example, like, your kids are made up of whatever you're made up of. So they're going to have your genetic makeup. So that resilience, that fire that you have in you, that's in your kids because they have your DNA. But at the same time, like he said, if I'm gonna go run up that hill, and every morning I see my dad get up at 5 a.m. and he went running, he went doing this, he went and made sure the car was fine for mama to drive to get back and forth to work, and he walked to work. If your kid is seeing that every day, eventually it's gonna click into them, right? That, oh, dad's doing this. Eventually they're gonna want to join in. Because especially if the dad has that kind of influence on the kid. Same thing with the mom. So whichever parent has the most influence and that kid gravitates toward them, they're going to be more like that from what they see, not from what you tell them. They're not going to. I don't remember 99% of what my parents said to me, except when it hurt. I remember when they made me feel bad. I remember when they made me feel less than. I remember all these things, but I don't remember a lot of the stuff they said. I remember pivotal moments in my life when they said things that transformed me in a way to make me want to be greater, right? But I remember experiencing these things with my parents, experiencing it. So that's the biggest part that people don't understand. Kids definitely remember what they see. But I know I went on for a long time today. I know I was rambling a lot. I know I was talking, like, just rambling on and on and on. But when I get into my rants, I'm just in it, y'all. So I'm not saying I'm the best parent. I'm not calling out other parents and saying what you're doing is wrong or what you're doing is right. Like I said, there's no rule book to it. But I definitely agree there are signs of success. There are clues that you can follow to create healthy and great kids. I do believe that the things that's already working works. Hard work, work ethic, manners, study, things like that. It just works, man. And you're never going to beat it. So with that being said, that's all I want to talk about tonight, man. Chris Hines, I believe his name was, in an interview with Chris Williamson. It was a great video. If y'all want to go check it out, please do that. Go look at the video, man, and just give your opinion on the things that he said, especially if you're a parent, and very much more if you're a father. Definitely drop your opinions in the comments. But yeah, tell me if y'all like this reaction, man. Tell me what y'all think. Drop it down below. Give it a like, give it a dislike, give it a share, leave a comment, whatever you want to do. And with that being said, I have nothing more for y'all. I'm out.